Have you ever woken up feeling empty? Like the world is moving around you, but you're stuck in a fog you can't name? Maybe you've told yourself, I should be grateful, I've lived a full life. But that doesn't lift the weight in your chest. You're not alone. For many of us in our 60s, 70s, and beyond, life's later chapters bring unexpected challenges. Retirement, losing loved ones, or health changes can leave us feeling adrift. But what if the heaviness you're carrying isn't just sadness? What if it's something deeper, something that doesn't have to define your golden years? Hi there. I'm glad you're here. Today, we're talking about something many of us hesitate to admit, let alone discuss: depression in older age. But this isn't a lecture. It's a conversation, one where we'll untangle myths, share stories, and explore ways to find light again. By the end of this series, you'll understand why your feelings matter, how to distinguish ordinary sadness from depression, and most importantly, how to start healing without pretending life is perfect. Stick with me. This could be the first step toward reclaiming your peace of mind. Part 1: The difference between sadness and depression. Let's start with a question you might have asked yourself. Am I just sad, or is this depression? It's a crucial distinction, one that even doctors sometimes miss. Picture this: your neighbor, Helen, lost her husband last year. She cries often, avoids bridge club, and tells you, I just miss him so much. That's grief, a natural response to loss. But then there's George, a retired teacher. On paper, his life seems fine, his health is stable. His kids call weekly. Yet he wakes up every morning dreading the day, feeling guilty for no reason, and thinking, what's wrong with me? George isn't just sad. He's wrestling with depression. The difference? Sadness usually has a why. It's a reaction to life's blows, a funeral, a diagnosis, watching your old workplace close. It hurts, but it makes sense. Depression, though, it's like a storm without a forecast. You might have a good roof over your head, people who care about you, yet the heaviness remains. And that's where the confusion, and the shame, creeps in. You see, society tells us, buck up. You've survived harder things. So we blame ourselves. We think, I'm being dramatic, or I should have handled this by now. But here's the truth. Depression isn't a choice. It's not a sign of weakness. It's a tangled knot of biology, life experiences, and emotions that need untangling. Now, you've probably heard two theories about depression. One camp says it's a chemical imbalance, like your brain's thermostat is broken. That's why medications help some folks. But others argue it's deeper, something psychotherapy can address: old wounds, regrets, or even relationships that never quite fit. Maybe you stayed in a job or marriage that drained you for decades. Or perhaps childhood memories, a critical parent, a buried trauma, resurface now that life has slowed down. Here's the thing, both views matter. Think of it like a garden. Chemicals are the soil, if it's depleted, nothing grows. But psychotherapy tends to the roots, the stories we've buried, the hurts we've never named. And for many of us, those roots go deep. Take Martha, 68, who came to me feeling numb for years. She'd say, I have no right to be depressed, my kids are healthy. But in therapy, she uncovered a quiet truth: she'd spent her life pleasing others, her strict parents, her demanding husband. All that unspoken anger. It turned inward, morphing into self-blame. I'm too sensitive. It's my fault. Does that sound familiar? That's what depression often does. It disguises pain as personal failure. But what if that failure is actually unfinished grief? Grief for the life you didn't get to live, the love you didn't receive, or the dreams you set aside. That's where healing begins, giving yourself permission to feel those things, without judgment. Not to stay stuck, but to finally release them. Of course, It's scary to face emotions we've avoided for decades. You might think, at my age, what's the point? But here's the miracle, it's never too late. Your mind and heart are still capable of profound change. I've seen 80-year-olds find peace after confronting lifelong sorrows. How? By realizing, this pain isn't my fault. And I don't have to carry it alone. So, where do you start? First, talk to someone. A doctor, a therapist, a trusted friend. You don't have to fix everything today. Just take one step. In our next conversation, we'll explore how childhood shadows or past regrets might be shaping your present, and how to gently loosen their grip. Until then, remember. You've survived 100% of your hardest days. And this? This is just another chapter, not the end of your story. Every garden begins with a single seed. Let's keep planting yours together. Part 2, Uncovering Hidden Roots and Breaking Old Patterns. Let's talk about something we all carry but rarely discuss, the stories we've buried. The ones we locked away because they felt too heavy, too complicated, or too ungrateful to admit. Maybe you've thought, why dwell on the past? I should focus on the good. But here's the truth, those untold stories aren't gone. They're like old seeds planted deep in the soil, and sometimes, they grow into shadows we can't quite name. Take Frank, a 72-year-old former mechanic. For years, he called his depression, the fog. He'd say, I've got no reason to feel this way, my pension's secure, my grandkids visit. But in our talks, he slowly uncovered a memory he'd packed away at 14, his father's words, stop crying. Or I'll give you something to cry about. Frank learned early to swallow his hurt. By 70, that unspoken pain had nowhere to go but inward. I'm just tired, he'd say. But what he really meant was, I've been tired for 60 years. Sound familiar? Many of us were taught to endure, not feel. To call heartache dramatic and anger ungrateful. But here's what no one told us. A partner, or a society that told you to act your age when what you needed was to act your truth. Depression often masks a deeper conflict, anger we're afraid to feel. Think about it. If you grew up in a time when respect meant silence, expressing disappointment, even to those who hurt you, felt forbidden. So where did that anger go? For many of us, it turned into guilt. If I'm hurting, I must have done something wrong. But what if it's not you that's wrong? What if it's the weight of all those unspoken, I deserved better, moments? Let's pause here. This isn't about blaming parents or partners, they did their best with what they knew. It's about acknowledging how those experiences shaped you. Like Rita, 67. Who stayed in a 40-year marriage to a kind but emotionally distant man. I thought love was supposed to feel lonely sometimes, she told me. It wasn't until her husband passed that she realized her depression wasn't about grief, it was about the decades she'd spent quietly aching for connection. Now, you might wonder. If I start digging up the past, won't it make things worse? It's a fair fear. But here's the miracle, when you bring hidden pain into the light, it loses its power to haunt you. Think of it like cleaning out an old attic. It's dusty work, but afterward, the air feels clearer. But what about the opposite of depression, those days when you're buzzing with energy? Reorganizing the garage at midnight or saying yes to every social invite? That's called hypomania, a state where we keep ourselves too busy to feel. It's another way of running from the quiet moments when sadness might surface. Ever met someone who jokes, I'll rest when I'm dead? Sometimes, that's not enthusiasm, it's fear of stillness. So how do we break these patterns? Start small. Talk to your past self. Write a letter to the child or young adult you once were. What did they need to hear? You matter. Your feelings are valid. No one else has to read it. Rewrite the script. When you catch yourself thinking, I'm too old to change, ask, is this my thought, or someone else's? Find a witness. Share one buried memory with a therapist, support group, or even a pet. The act of saying it aloud, "This happened, and it hurt," can be revolutionary. And if you're thinking, "But I've forgiven everyone, why am I still stuck?" Forgiveness is vital, but it's not the same as healing. You can forgive someone and still grieve what they cost you. That's not bitterness, it's honesty. Let me leave you with this: healing isn't about erasing the past. It's about making peace with its place in your story. You've spent decades caring for others. Now, it's time to care for you, not just your body, but your heart. In our next conversation, we'll explore how to rebuild a sense of purpose when life feels quiet, and how to find joy that doesn't depend on ignoring pain. Until then, try this: before bed, name one emotion you felt today, without judging it. Today, I felt lonely, and that's okay. Even the mightiest trees weather storms. Their secret? They don't hide their roots, they grow through them. Part 3, Rebuilding Purpose and Embracing Joy. There's a question many of us whisper but rarely ask aloud: now that the hustle is over, who am I? For years, our purpose was tied to roles: parent, employee, caregiver. But when those roles shift, it's easy to feel untethered, like a clock that's wound but doesn't chime. Let's talk about how to rediscover meaning, not by chasing productivity, but by nurturing what truly matters. Meet Evelyn, 76, a retired nurse. For decades, her identity revolved around her patients. After retiring, she felt adrift. "I'd wake up and think, who needs me today?" she shared. Then, one morning, she noticed a neighbor struggling to carry groceries. That small act of help became a ritual. Now, she bakes casseroles for newcomers in her building. "I'm not just a retiree anymore," she says. "I'm the person who remembers how lonely it feels to be new." Purpose isn't about grand titles. It's about connection, to others, to yourself, to moments that make your heart lean in. Maybe for you, it's tending a garden, volunteering at the library, or writing down family stories for your grandkids. It doesn't need to change the world. It just needs to change your world. But here's the challenge. How do you find joy when grief or regret still lingers? The answer isn't to replace sadness with happiness. It's to let them coexist. Imagine sitting with a dear friend who's hurting. You wouldn't shout, "Cheer up." You'd simply sit with them, offering quiet presence. Try treating your own heart with that same grace. James, 81, learned this after losing his wife. He told me, "I felt guilty laughing at a joke or enjoying a sunny day, like I was betraying her memory." But over time, he realized, joy doesn't erase love. It honors it. Now, he visits their favorite park bench daily, sometimes crying, sometimes smiling at squirrels. Both are okay. So, how do you start? Let's try 3 simple steps. Follow your curiosity. What did you love before life got busy? Painting? Birdwatching? Baking? Revisit it, not to master it, but to let it delight you. Embrace micro-moments. Joy lives in details. The smell of fresh coffee, the sound of wind chimes, a grandchild's doodled thank you note. Slow down enough to notice them. Share your wisdom. Teach a skill, woodworking, quilting, storytelling, to a younger neighbor or community group. Legacy isn't just what you leave behind, it's what you pass forward. And if you're thinking, "But what if I'm not ready?" That's okay. Start with imagining. Picture yourself a year from now. What small, daily ritual would make you feel grounded? A morning walk? A weekly phone call with an old friend? Write it down. Fold it into your coffee table drawer. Let it be a quiet promise to yourself. Now, let's address the elephant in the room: loneliness. It's not a personal failure. Our world just moves faster now. And forging new bonds takes courage. But remember, vulnerability is strength with wrinkles. Join a book club, even if you're shy. Attend a senior center watercolor class. Even if your first painting looks like a happy accident. The goal isn't perfection. It's presence. Take it from Carlos, 70, who felt isolated after moving to a new city. He mustered the courage to join a men's breakfast group. The first time, I just listened, he said. But now, we laugh so hard my ribs hurt. I didn't realize how much I missed being heard. Of course, some days will still feel heavy. That's normal. Healing isn't a straight line, it's a spiral. You might revisit old sorrows, but each time, you'll have more tools to carry them. In our final conversation, we'll explore how to sustain these steps and build a support network that feels like a warm blanket on a cold day. Until then, try this, tomorrow. Do one thing that makes you feel alive. Not productive or useful, just alive. Sing off key to a oldies song. Sit outside and feel the sun on your face. Text a friend, remember that time we. The best chapters aren't about how much you did, but how deeply you lived. Part 4, Sustaining Growth and Building Your Support Circle. Let's talk about something we rarely admit, healing is messy. Some days, you'll feel like you've turned a corner. Other days, the fog rolls back in, and that's okay. This isn't about fixing yourself. It's about learning how to hold your own hand through life's seasons. Take Gloria, 79, who told me, I'll have a good week. Then bam, I'm back in bed by noon, wondering why I bother. What changed for her? She stopped seeing setbacks as failures. Instead, she created a gentleness toolkit, a list of tiny, tender things to do on hard days. One item. Put on real pants and walk to the mailbox. If I make it, I wave at Mrs. Lopez's cat. If not, I leave the pajamas on and call it a win. Progress isn't about big leaps. It's about showing up for yourself, even when it's imperfect. So today, let's explore how to build a life that bends with the storms instead of breaking, and how to surround yourself with people who'll hold the umbrella when you need it. You've probably heard the phrase, it takes a village. Well, it takes a village to heal, too. But here's the catch, your village doesn't have to look like anyone else's. Maybe it's a weekly call with your niece who lives states away. A coffee group where you debate crossword puzzles. Even the cashier at the grocery store who remembers your name. Connection isn't about numbers, it's about moments that make you feel seen. Consider Henry, 82, a Korean War veteran. For years, he isolated himself, convinced he'd burden others with his stories. Then he joined a writing group at the local library. First time I read my essay aloud, my hands shook, he admitted. But a young mom in the group said, your words made me think of my grandpa. Now, we swap stories like old friends. Intergenerational bonds can be especially powerful. Young people aren't just the future, they're bridges to curiosity, wonder, and fresh perspectives. And you? You're a living library of resilience. Sharing your stories isn't just a gift to them, it's a reminder of how far you've come. But what if you're introverted or housebound? Start small. Try a hello habit. Smile at a neighbor, chat with a telemarketer, they're lonely too, or leave a kind note for your mail carrier. Join an online community. Virtual book clubs or hobby forums let you connect without leaving home. Adopt a proxy grandkid. Programs like Eldora or local schools often pair seniors with kids for storytelling or mentoring. And if rejection stings? Remember, every no gets you closer to a yes. You're not starting over, you're starting wiser. Now, let's address the quiet fear many of us harbor. What if I become a burden? Here's the truth, asking for help isn't weakness, it's an act of trust. Think of the people you've cared for over the years. Didn't it feel like an honor to be needed? Give others that same gift. When Marjorie, 75, broke her hip, she refused her daughter's offers to stay with her. "I didn't want to be a bother," she said. But one night, over a delivered casserole, her daughter tearfully admitted, "Mom, letting me help you, it makes me feel like I'm still your little girl." Sometimes, the bravest thing we can do is say, "I'm not okay." And the most loving reply? Let's be not okay together for a while. Finally, let's talk about rituals, the small, sacred habits that ground us. Yours might be morning coffee on the porch, watching the birds, lighting a candle for loved ones gone but not forgotten, ending the day by naming 3 things that didn't go wrong. Rituals aren't about grand gestures. They're whispers to your soul, "You're still here. You're still worth here." Edna, 88, starts each day by opening her window, even in winter, and saying, "Hello, world. Let's see what you've got today." Some days, the world offers sunshine. Others, sleet. But that ritual? It's her way of saying, "I'm still in the game." Voiceover. As we near the end of our journey together, I want to leave you with this: healing isn't a destination. It's a daily choice to treat yourself like someone worth loving. Some days, that choice will feel easy. Others, it'll feel like climbing a hill in socks. But you've already survived 100% of your worst days. Why doubt yourself now? In our final conversation, we'll reflect on the legacy you've already built, and the one you're still creating. Until then, try this: reach out to someone today. Not because you're lonely, but because they might be. You'd be amazed how many hearts are waiting for a reason to connect. The strongest fabrics aren't the ones that never tear. They're the ones that hold together, stitch by imperfect stitch. Part 5, Legacy, Hope and the Courage to Keep Living. There's a story I've carried with me for years, one I've saved for this moment. It's about Arthur, a 91-year-old World War II veteran I met a decade ago. When we first spoke, he told me, "I've outlived everyone I ever loved. What's left to live for?" But one afternoon, he noticed a young boy in his apartment complex crying over a broken toy truck. Arthur, who'd been a machinist, asked, "Want me to fix that?" He spent hours tinkering, and when the truck rolled again, the boy hugged him and said, "You're magic, Mr. A." Arthur didn't stop there. He started a Fix It Friday club in his building's lobby. Kids brought cracked dolls, wobbly chairs, even shattered phone screens. He'd say, "Broken doesn't mean useless. It just needs care." When Arthur passed last year, over 200 people, many he'd never met, attended his memorial. The boy with the truck, now a teenager, spoke, "Mr. A taught me that everyone can be fixed, if someone cares enough to try." Arthur's story isn't about grand achievements. It's about a truth we often forget: your legacy isn't what you leave, it's what you awaken in others. And that work isn't done yet. Not by a long shot. Let's pause here. If you're watching this, you've survived every single thing life's thrown at you. The heartbreaks, the losses, the days you swore you couldn't get out of bed. Yet here you are, still breathing, still hoping, still here. That's not luck. That's strength. And that strength? It's a torch. Maybe your torch feels dim right now. That's okay. Torches aren't meant to blaze alone. They're meant to pass hand to hand, lighting others' paths as we go. Think of the woman who smiled at you in the pharmacy when you felt invisible. The neighbor who shoveled your walk without being asked. The grandchild who learned kindness by watching you. This is your quiet legacy, the love you didn't withhold. The courage you didn't silence. The hope you kept alive, even when it flickered. Now, let's talk about the word goodbye. It's one we've heard too often at our age. But today, I want to redefine it. Goodbye doesn't have to mean an ending. It can mean, I carry you with me. Take Maeve, 78, who reconnected with her estranged sister after 40 years. They'd fought over an inheritance, letting pride build a wall between them. When her sister was diagnosed with cancer, Maeve showed up at her door, shaking, and said, "I don't want to fight anymore." They spent 6 months healing old wounds, not with apologies, but with shared laughter over old photos and terrible 70s sitcoms. When her sister passed, Maeve told me, "I thought I'd feel empty. Instead, I feel whole. Like we finally gave each other permission to be human." Not all goodbyes get neat endings. But when we face them with honesty instead of regret, they become doorways, not dead ends. So, as we close our time together, let's lay down 3 final stones on your path forward. Let yourself want things. A trip to the ocean. A reconciliation. A second chance at love. Desire isn't selfish, it's proof you're still alive. Redefine productivity. A day spent napping, reading, or sitting with memories isn't wasted. It's soul work. Leave a breadcrumb trail. Write a letter for your family to open in 10 years. Plant a tree you'll never sit under. Whisper a secret to the wind. Future generations will thank you, not for being perfect, but for being real. Before I go, I want to thank you. For showing up. For listening. For daring to believe that life isn't done with you yet. Depression may have brought you here, but look how far you've come. You've learned to distinguish sadness from shadows. You've faced buried stories. You've planted seeds of purpose. That's not just survival, it's rebirth. If you take one thing from this series, let it be this: you are not your age. You are not your past. You are not your diagnosis. You are a living, breathing symphony of stories, and the best movements are still being written. So go gently. But go forward. Cry when you need to. Laugh when you can. And when the fog rolls back in, remember Arthur's broken truck. Remember Maeve's 6 months of grace. Remember yourself, younger, braver, softer, and whisper, "We're not done yet." You've spent a lifetime earning your place here. Now, stay.